Hello, thanks for joining us on People, Power, Politics, and Power. And as usual, we have Nigeria in Focus. It is a program that makes you think of the unity of Nigeria, the Nigeria where there's equity, justice, and fair play, where every citizen is mobilized and desirous of contributing to the development of Nigeria. Of course, we take a look at the restructuring question on this program. We also take a look at developments in the states, and we also, by interacting with so many people we bring on this program, get to understand the feelings and how much problems we do have and how we can go around it to make Nigeria better, not just for us who are here on earth now, but for our children and our children's children. Today we have a man who has the privilege of overseeing a state. He has had the privilege of representing his constituency, his district in the Senate in the past, and he has also served in the past as one anchor a governor depended on in the running of a state. We're talking about the governor of Delta State, His Excellency Gov Okowa. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much.
Now, let's begin from the PDP. You are the chairman of the planning committee of the non-elective convention of the PDP this weekend. Some person says it's a walkover because there's no job to be done. With just an election that's going on, the job actually is how to mobilize the PDP members to get a meaning out of the unity that is required in the party to play the role properly as an opposition in Nigeria. Tell us.
The other thing that is needed to be done in the convention is being put in place. We're not going into elections. Certain resolutions will be taken in the best interest of the party. The party is coming up again after the Supreme Court judgment, so the issues of organizing ourselves properly for the elections ahead will definitely be on the fore on Saturday, the 12th of August. So there's still a lot to be done.
Let's talk about the convention. We have representatives from each of the 774 local governments, or how did you get it? Is it from the states? How many?
Actually, we have our constitution is very clear as to who should be delegates. But beyond delegates, we also have room for observers. They will all have their tags, and then we have room for the officials. That's the planning committee members, whether main committee or the subcommittees. So we'll all be there in the place. But normally, from the delegates that come, they are from various local governments, according to the party constitution, and they cut across a range of party faithfuls and leaders in the various local governments across the nation.
Now, I have gone through some of the fine details of what you want out of that convention. Of course, the tenure of the interim management of the committee that is managing the PDP that is coming to an end. That's one area that the convention is focusing on. Is that the only takeaway? Maybe to extend the tenure of the...
That would not be the only takeaway, but that's a principal thing to be done, because the tenure of the National Caretaker Committee actually will have some on the 17th of August. And it's important that we do things right. And since the convention created that body, it's only the convention that can actually extend the tenure, because we did not make other provisions for that. So we needed to extend the tenure of the National Caretaker Committee, because there are still a lot of things to be done before we can go into an elective convention, which will also come up very soon, in a few months from now.
November is
we have not fixed a date for the elective convention. There are always speculations. But we also believe that there are a lot of other issues that would also come up. Many of our party leaders will also address us on the need to stay strong, on the need to unify ourselves, on the need to ensure that we work hard in the various local governments and wards to keep the party strong and prepared for 2019.
Yeah, now that you have gone into the key area of getting the party on the stand. Of course, we know what the PDP has gone through in the recent time. Some say The challenge of the PDP is how to reinvent itself now and position it properly. Where is the building block going to begin from?
The building block normally will start from the grassroots. That's where our strength is. And I believe that that process is already ongoing. This challenge we've gone through in the past several months is something that has brought us closer together. It makes us realize that we have no other home politically apart from the PDP. So it's fired up a lot of our leaders, a lot of followers to actually rise up to take their party to strength. And that exactly is what we're trying to do. We can see that the enthusiasm among party members. If you're out there on Tuesday when they did the inauguration of the committees, the National Planning Committee for this convention, even when it was non-elective, you find that, various former governors, former ministers, former members of the National Executive Committee, Board of Trustees members, they were all out there and in good numbers. That shows the enthusiasm within the party. And we believe that the way we're going at the moment and the plans that we have going forward from the convention will definitely put us on the right footing to reclaim power in 2019.
Of course, everybody coming for this convention, as it were, are coming with a heave of a sigh that the events that preceded this period, the court case that almost tore the party apart, is gone. But with a lot of, some persons have a lot of feelings, a lot of deep cuts, injuries. A lot of people make pronouncements. They moved on the sideline. Some persons were on the fence. How do we begin to use this particular convention?
Yes, so you'll find that apart from the National Planning Committee for the convention, that same Tuesday we have also inaugurated committees for reconciliation. They are supposed, beyond reconciling party members that are within the party, they are also supposed to reach out to a lot of our leaders who are aggrieved, a lot of our leaders who are sitting on the fence, a lot of our leaders who possibly have also moved into other parties, with the reassurance that PDP has come back to strength and that we are being refocused. We're going to reach out to as many of them as possible to return back to the party.
Unfortunately, some of them have picked up tickets in the elections coming on in Anambra State.
We cannot get everybody back, but beyond those who have gone, we're also going to reach out to so many more Nigerians who are actually looking forward to a credible party going forward. We're reaching out to a whole lot of people. We can't get everybody back. But for anyone that we lose, we are going to get many more persons to join us in the party.
Your Excellency, you must be also... Is there anything that disturbs you about the PDP? Anything that disturbs you? I'll give you a background. Some persons see the PDP as a party that didn't run their affairs well in Nigeria for 16 years. Yes, they harmonized, they gave democracy a chance. The first time we're having it as long as 16 years. Good takeaway, but opportunities that were lost. We are talking about, Nigerians are talking about restructuring today. PDP had 16 years to have talked and walked the rope and tell Nigerians, mobilize Nigerians towards restructuring. We are talking about corruption, which nobody can deny. The PDP the PDP administration waited, watched, and saw the train of corruption moving freely around Nigeria from the federal through to the local government level. Is there anything that worries you about this party?
In the first instance, it may not be exactly so. We may not have been able to offer to Nigerians all that they expected, but we must realize that we came in at a time where there was no democratic structure in place. And having come in at that time, there were lots and lots of challenges. That is well known. We at least as a party, we stabilized the country, moved it forward democratically. You've just confessed to me now that for the first time, we're able to midwife democracy through 4 different transitions. And that is quite important. And the fact that PDP was also able to midwife the democracy, transiting from a ruling party to another party, that is something that we must actually applaud the PDP for. But on the issues of corruption, the battles we're talking about today, the structures to fight corruption, it was created by the PDP government. We are aware of that. And that fight has continued to go on. But this is a fight that is going to go on for a whole lot of time, because even in this current administration as it stands,
there are still accusations,
of course, a lot of it is also ongoing. So the fact is that all Nigerians must sit up and be ready to gradually fight this battle. And beyond the issue of the grandstanding that we have in the normal fight against corruption, we must go back to begin to retutor ourselves, right from the young ones as they grow up, to begin to understand that the national interest is important. But when the core values of the society is broken, you find that trying at the top to ensure that you mend everything right there at the top is quite difficult. So there are lots of things that we have lost in the course of time. Even in our schools at the moment, starting from the primary, secondary school, what values are we building into our children? Within the family structure, what values are we inculcating into the children? The parents don't even care about what's going on with their children. And those who are growing up, oh, it's all about money. Once you make money, you are applauded in the society. So the core values are broken in the society, and we need to begin to address those issues critically.
That's exactly what
it's quite important.
Many people think that these are not actually the issues that just pop up. They have been there.
Yes.
But you had, when I say you, now please.
Yes, I know, I understand. I know. Why not? Yeah.
You had the opportunity for 16 years to lay some of these foundations, and that unfortunately, they were not, even foundations, some of them they were not strong enough. And some of them were just...
I'll give you an example now. If the EFCC you talk about today, the ICPC and the rest, if they were not created by the PDP, I'm sure that it would have been worse today, where we find ourselves. At least the creation of these two bodies is still fair into some. But for some others, they may just continue to carry on because of the broken society that we have. And these structures that were laid down by the PDP are the structures that we are trying to build on. So it's for every government that comes in, they need to continue to build on the fight that we need to fight corruption. And in fighting corruption, it's not just fighting it at the top. While we agree that it must be fought at the top and it must be all-inclusive, the battle must be all-inclusive, then we must also begin to fight it at the foundation. At the foundation where you begin to retutor the minds of the young ones. That as they grow up, they understand that the national interest is important. On the issues of restructuring, there's been a lot of talk about it. It's not just now. The issues of the battles against restructuring have been on. You will recall that there was a time we talked about the resource control that came in as a large movement from the South-South states. So these issues have been on. It's something that we continue to shy away from discussing at the national level, but I thank God it's gaining prominence. Then the leadership of governance and the leadership of the people from the South-South at that time, they were given all kinds of names because they talked about the issue of resource control. Of course, that was part of the restructuring that was demanded. But now it's beginning to gain grounds, not only in the South-South, in the Southwest, and a lot of people, Southeast, everybody is talking about it. And I think that there's a need for us to sit down and address it. Nobody is talking about Nigeria not being one. Everybody is interested in keeping Nigeria as one indivisible country. But there are lots of issues within the structure that we run at the moment that are questionable. And for us to have the national interest, the national unity that we desire, there must be justice, fairness, there must be equity. And these are issues that we need to discuss and put on the table and have a true discussion of minds across the various ethnic groups in the nation and ensure that we're able to have certain resolutions that will further unite us and make us live in a peaceful nation.
The reluctance of those who have always found opportunity to be in government, and I will also not excuse the PDP, the reluctance to hit the nail on the head for this roundtable you are talking about, discussion, and even this current government, the reluctance to is creating a lot of tension. I know as governor who have citizens not just in Delta State, you also have them all over the place, including those that have been asked to move away from certain parts of Nigeria. I know you will be worried. How worried are you?
There are still certain issues that have not been addressed. And in this course of the restructuring process, there is a need for us to discuss it properly. It's not a matter of the National Assembly, I know they're trying to take certain decisions were taken. Of course, a lot of people are not happy. But I think that there is the need for us to have a national discourse on this. We've tried to talk, people have raised issues concerning the conference, the national conference that was held, but of course, a part of the country is not quite satisfied with that. So if we need to discuss amongst our leaders, there's a need for us to ensure that we provide that avenue for people to be able to air their views, for people to be able to come to certain consensus before the National Assembly will be used as a legislative body to legislate on certain processes. So at the moment, I think that there is a need for us to be cautious about moving too fast in terms of legislation when that discourse has not been brought truly to the fore.
What do you envisage as this discourse? Because people have said, we have talked
people have various views. If you ask me to define the restructuring that they have all kinds of restructuring. Some people are asking that we go back to the regional yes. Democracy that we had in the past. Some are asking go back to the parliamentary system. Some are asking for devolution of more powers to the states, yeah. Which is something that is gaining a lot of grounds. Some are asking for all forms of restructuring. So we need to be sure that we understand the views of all these persons, put it on the table, and try to arrive at some level of consensus. Why I did ask that the National Assembly need to slow down a bit was because they needed to hear the people talk. Yeah. So I do not just look at as leaders within the legislative structure that we are beginning to take decisions ahead of the people. Each of the membership at that level will need to return back home and to carry the views of their people back to the National Assembly for further discussion.
You're actually looking at kind of a people's in their various areas talk and say this is what we want.
And, and of course their leadership must come in. People are beginning to already, how do I put it, cross-fertilize ideas. There's no doubt about that. Because I know that we have our own viewpoint as South-South, and that our leaders are already making contacts and trying to also reach out to the Northern leaders. And we hope that these things will yield results, because there must be reassurances on all parts that in the Nigerian nation, which we all want to remain as one, that we're actually remaining as one in a situation where justice, fairness is guaranteed in everything that we're doing.
Well, we are on People's Politics and Power on Africa Independent Television, a program that takes Nigeria on a unity path that would ensure no disintegration, unity of purpose, and everybody would be happy at the end of the day. We have the governor of Delta State, Gov Okowa, as our guests on the program today. We take a break and we're back shortly.
The Nigeria of our dream, the Nigeria we need, is the united, indissoluble, and cohesive Nigeria which guarantees equity, fairness, justice, and prosperity for its citizens. That is our focus on people, politics, and power. It is fresh, insightful, impactful. It's a must-watch. People, politics, and power on AIT. Join us to build bridges of unity.
Thank you very much, sir, for remaining with us on the program. I'm just going to ask a question, one on the PDP to wrap up, and then we'll come to Delta State. Now, what manner of opposition are you seeing of PDP? Now that all the troubles are going, you are re-engineering yourself, you are coming back, what manner of opposition are you envisaging? I have seen the opposition in some other climes, where they actually sit down, they talk about some of the issues, they have propositions, rather than just kick the existing government, they make suggestions and say, this is how we want to do it, this is how we want to do it, and this is how we best want to see these policies implemented. What manner of opposition do you see of PDP?
I believe we are going to be a credible opposition, looking at the issues that are being done wrongly and being able to have a proper critique of what is going on in governance at the moment. we continue to try to be a voice for the people, and we will continue to try to ensure that the government of the day, the ruling government of the day, that they are put on their toes to deliver on the things they have promised Nigerians that they are going to deliver. We do understand, however, that we are in challenging times. We believe also that when they get things right, we'll be able to applaud them when they get things right. But when they do things in the wrong manner, we would definitely speak out, and speak out very strongly, and try to put them back on course. We also want to begin to showcase reasonable level of internal democracy, which is very important, and set in motion a process that would also be emulated by other parties. Because in this country, once we ensure that internal democracy is strong and we get the processes right, you'll find that going forward, you're more likely going to have a democracy that stays for as long as Nigeria also stays. That means the democracy that will last forever.
I was actually going to jump into that peculiar problem of internal. If you look at the cases in courts, resolutions or judgments of courts over time, they are all a flow. It doesn't even matter which party now, whether it's PDP or APC, is cut across, where individuals hijack the leadership recruitment process and dictate. Is the PDP going to move away from this very rough and wrong track? Because that has been part of the PDP.
Definitely, we have learned our lessons, and we know that the defects of the past actually has put us in a very, very difficult stage at the moment. And in refocusing the party, we are continuing to preach that, and we're definitely going to ensure that. And the caretaker committee has continued to drive that process into the minds of the party people. And we hope that by the time we have the elective convention to bring in the National Working Committee of the party, that we'll get it just right by looking for those persons who will ensure that we stand to defend internal democracy. Because once you get that right, there is no doubt that the PDP is widely accepted in every single ward, every single unit of this nation. But we need to be able to get that right. And I believe that that was where we got it wrong in the past. And we are very willing and committed to causing a change.
And let me drive it to the states, because we have to go to data now. The problems of the party are actually not localized in Abuja. There are things that flow from. We know how strong leaders in the party, the governors in particular, become so powerful that they sit down in the government house and draw lists and say, this is the one I wanted. They call their leaders and say, bring up your list. They decide. How can we drive this down to states? How we can actually position the Delta state as one, a state we can use as
that may be going on in some other places, but that would not take place in Delta State. I came in through a democratic process. If you follow through my emergence at the primaries of the PDP in 2014 as East gubernatorial candidate, it was a transparent process, and that threw me up, and today I'm governor by the grace of God and by the will of the people. It's only fair that I should defend what is right. And I've continuously said it to all our party leaders and the party ESCO at the local government levels, that in moving forward, we must maintain internal democracy, and I'm very committed to that. Okay. I'm not going to allow leadership to throw up names. It's not an appointment. If it's an appointment, yes. But in elections, where the people cannot resolve, where they don't have a consensus, there must be an elective Congress.
Now you came up, when you were sworn in, you came up with a blueprint, and you were up loud and clear to everybody in Delta State that you have a dream to bring in prosperity to the people of Delta State, and that is your dream for the tenure that you have been elected. That was a very tall order, because I'm beginning to see you sweaty because there's no money to implement some of the things. I've also seen some of the challenges that you have. Is it that you were not very clear on the picture of fund that will come against the background of the dream that you had?
We have a dream. The dream is to prosper Deltans. The dream is to commit them to acquiring the needed skills to be able to tool themselves properly to have a living of their own. The dream is to create wealth amongst the people, even in difficult situations, and even at this time. We still believe that in these trying times, that creation of jobs through skill acquisition and through agriculture is definitely the way out. We have stayed that dream as much as possible. But whether we have been able to move as fast as we should be, that is where the question of the challenge comes. Of course, we've not been able to move as fast as anticipated because of the challenges that we did meet. In going forward, at the time we drew our program, and our program still remains on course, just that we've been slowed down. The question is that nobody knew at that time that the oil prices were going to go down as much as it is. But it's not the fact that the oil prices have gone down. What still is that unfortunately in Delta State, because of the crisis that we ran into as a result of certain decisions or certain pronouncements that were made, and we had a lot of our oil facilities destroyed and vandalized. That obviously brought a very deep cut into the quantum of oil that we were producing, and that has been a major problem. So we did not only suffer from the issue of the global oil price, we were worse hit by the volume of oil that came out of Delta, because for 16 months, the Forcados export line was cut off. And that is a very huge loss to Delta State, about 300,000 barrels on a daily basis. That is quite a deep cut in our resources. But however, we have tried to stay the course. We've trained a lot of youths. We continue to train them through various programs. We have a job creation office that has trained a few thousands of youths, both in skill acquisition and agriculture. And after the training, we actually empower them with all that they need to start. And we have had a lot of success stories in this line. There's no doubt about that. We hope that we can train a few more thousand. But the good thing about it is that those that we have trained through that office, about 2,500 that we've trained from that office, a lot of them have begun to train their colleagues. And this peer influence is very important in being able to move them forward.
What are you training
in various skills, ranging from agriculture. In agriculture, okay, is training them in aquaculture, which is production of fish through fish ponds, through poultry, piggeries. Some of them are in crop production and a few other aspects in the agricultural side. On the other side, we're training people in ICT, training people in block molding, in building, acquiring skills through fashion design. There are a whole lot of it.
When you say
when we put them through this training, we also have, and we start them fully with what they are supposed to have. We have a mentoring process that is continuous, because that has been the pain in the past. When they run into challenges and you're not there for them, they exit. But continuously, they are monitored. They have a continuous contact with our job creation office. We have a team for monitoring and mentoring to ensure that they succeed. Where we meet them with challenges, we're able to restart them and link them up and find solutions.
One of the greatest challenges successive governments have had is continuation of schemes like this. Are there mechanisms? Are there legal frameworks? Are there things that you are deliberately putting in place such that even when you are out of office, those who are coming will find it still attractive?
Yes, it's our belief that we'll be there for 8 years, and we know that this is tenured.
You have 4 years.
But we believe we'll be there for 8 years, and we are planning for the 8 years because we are reaching out to the people, and we know that they will have confidence in us, taking us forward. So first, we're putting all these processes in place, as I said, also bringing the unit for mentoring and monitoring. And when we have seen this success story through to the end of the 3rd year, then we begin to put on, from our experiences, we begin to put on the legal framework. If we try to legislate on it too early, then those challenges you're going to meet along the line, you will skip it. So we're pulling it through and then eventually have a legislative framework that is going to establish it on a permanent basis. So even somebody comes in, he may not walk it the path that we're doing, but he will be able to take another path. But we have already put a particular framework already in terms of acquisition of skills, not on the agricultural aspect, by creating what we call the Board for Technical and Vocational Education. That one came into effect within the first 2 weeks of my administration, and that Board for Technical Education is in charge of the technical schools in the state, and they're also in charge of running the vocational centers. At the moment, we have about 10 to 12 vocational centers that are running efficiently under this board, and their mandate is to continuously ensure that our youth are tooled up with skills. And they are doing a lot since they came in. They are doing a lot to revitalize those the activities at the vocational centers and to give strength to it. And that one already has its legislation in place and it's up and running.
When you do a very good job, everybody will say, wonderful, and this is good. But sometimes, even when you do that wonderful job, they say, some persons will say, you could probably have done better. More. You are talking about just 2,000 people in Delta State, maybe under 3,000 or 3. Let us even add 1,000 to it. 3,000 who are benefited from it. That is just a drop.
No, okay. It's important you understand. I say through the Chief Job Creation Officer's office alone.
Okay.
And this set of people are already training one. In fact, from one of the experiences we had, because we are doing town hall meetings now, taking us around the local governments, one particular lady that had been trained has already trained 19 people of her own. That completed training of 10 and another 9 are with her.
Are you in touch with those who have been trained through
continuously
loans and all that?
No, we'll provide them. We'll provide them. Actually, those who've trained, they are provided with all that they need to start.
I mean, those who have been retrained now.
Those who have been retrained. That is the focus we're taking now, and including those who have been trained from the vocational centers. Those who have been trained from the vocational centers since we came in are about 4,000. We're doing interviews now for those who have not been able to establish on their own, because they voluntarily came for those trainings. Some have established themselves. For those who have not been able to establish themselves, there are certain criteria that they must meet. And we want to be able to provide the needed tools for about 1,000 of them in the course of this year. Okay. That interview is currently ongoing. It's a process because we want to get it right. We don't just want to give money or equipment to somebody who will go and sell it. So as at the time just before I came in for this convention, they've gone through the process. They're in the last stage of the selection of those that we're going to support in the course of this year, and then we'll take it up gradually because we cannot get that to everybody. But we're also appealing to a lot of our people who are in one way or the other empowered to be able to take up a few persons to support on their own. And some of our leaders are actually coming into the program. Some of our people too that are into commercial agriculture, we are beginning to encourage them. We also believe that they can engage some of these youths themselves in their various farms.
How much have you put into this scheme?
I may not be able to give you all the money that we put into it, but definitely within the Job Creation Officer's office alone, I believe that we spent close to 4 billion naira
4 billion.
On the Job Creation Officer's office alone. The technical and vocational education, we've done a lot in rehabilitating and providing equipment, and also some of the equipment that they had before, we have had to refurbish it. We have, out of the 6 technical schools, we have completely revamped 3 of them. They are in very good state with all the equipment that they require. No, this because that is a different body itself. And we are already attending to the other 3 technical education they are being worked on at the moment to get them to a state where we're sure that they are properly equipped.
How much have you put into this other area?
In the technical education board, definitely not less than 3 billion at the moment.
Now, you know why I ask is also because I want to ask a question of your IGR, how you are able to whether you're able to raise or you are maintaining a level of your internally generated revenue?
We have our various revenue sources, but a lot of our revenue also, because the economy in the past has been tied more to the oil companies and the oil service companies.
Yes.
With the downturn in the oil sector, we have had a lot of crash in terms of the revenues coming in from the oil companies and the oil service company. Yes, I call down the HR, but we've tried to stimulate it from some other sources, and it still remains. It still continues to fluctuate.
Like,
That's the truth.
What's the average?
The average is between 2.5 to 4 billion naira a month, which is still sizable. Quite difficult for us. We thought by now we should have been able to move our HR to about 6 billion, but the circumstances have not permitted it to be so.
Now, is the state government paying loans when you take the money from Abuja and you get it there? Are there things that are cut off before you will get anything?
In the first instance, unfortunately, Delta State is burdened with a lot of debt because at the time we came in, it was really very difficult because of the exposure that we did have. And at the moment, as I speak with you, from our revenue FAC at Abuja, approximately 2.5 billion is deducted monthly, right from source, right from Abuja.
And that represents how much? Sometimes
it varies because there are some months we get 6 billion, some months we get 7. There are 2 particular months we got as low as 3 billion.
To take home after the deduction?
To take home. It's been quite difficult. That's a very challenging situation for us at this critical time with the very low revenues coming in. And then you have that huge deduction. And we're also exposed to some banks internally at home to the tune of about 400 million monthly. So on the average, we have deductibles about 2.9 billion. And that has every month, and that has actually heightened up the challenge.
That's actually eating up all the internally generated revenue.
It's eating up.
Now let's look at the security. Of course, you mentioned something about it in the course of looking at the challenges you have, where the oil revenue, went up, and then you have all your extra challenges. How are you dealing with the acting president came to the state around the Niger Delta area? How are you managing to get the restive youths, in addition to this empowerment that you are doing? How challenging has it been?
It's been very challenging. We have continued to engage our youths. We have continued to engage the elders, the traditional rulers in the place, and our various opinion leaders. It's paid off, I must truly tell you, it's paid off because the continued engagement that we had with them did slow them down, because you would know, and I think you read in the papers, they threatened all manner of things. Yes. to run the oil companies completely out. And we managed it to a stage where we did make the vice president know that he needed to come in to add a voice. But then the stage was set because a lot had been done. And his presence and his commitments to the people of the state also helped to improve on the relationship between the youths, the elders, and the government, both at the state and at the national level, particularly with his commitment that the Maritime University was not going to be closed and that the federal government was going to ensure that that school, that university resumed. Because that was a major thing that actually led to this crisis that we had in this place. And the vice president, the acting president at the moment, has remained committed, yes. Committed to this course, and the leaders of PANDEM met with him recently, and I believe that by the special grace of God, we're getting it right. The National Assembly is also cooperating, but it's not easy managing the youths in the Niger Delta. The reason is that if you actually go out to see their communities where they actually live, it's a major problem. You would have a lot of pity for them. And when you see some of the communities, sometimes you cannot but understand that the environment itself is such that it makes them agitate a lot. But we are committed to ensuring that we begin to right the wrongs.
Now, just before we come to a few of national issues, let me ask about the seats of Gov. You were a senator here. We were running around on the corridor of the National Assembly. We were making laws. Yes. You have also not been, it's not strange to you because you worked in Delta State before. Now, what is it that is in government that gets those who get to government? What is it that get them distracted from the core duty of providing for the people? If I don't ask you this question, people will say, why have you not asked him? Because you see people who have the dream, they want to come out and they seek election and they are elected. The next thing you see is they are on their own. What is
challenges that you meet in government itself, in the course of governance? Yes, it could distract you if the focus was not real and if your goals have not been set right. There's no doubt about that. We also know that the pressures that politicians, appointees, and elected people, the pressures that they face because of the economic situation in the country is also a major factor. Because most times people want to compare our democracies with the democracies that you have in the
developed country.
But they've forgotten that even in the course of democracy, that when people run elections there, many of them don't even run elections
from their pockets.
From their pockets. People donate and push them there, so they are running the elections based on a particular manifesto or what they have told the people that they are going to do. But right here is a lot different.
People say their houses.
People do all kinds, and then when you have also found yourself in government, because the people are not lightly provided for in many spheres of life, because a lot of our people, over 80%, are within the poverty bracket, unlike those other places. The pressures come on you as an elected person, the pressures come on you as an appointed person. And we're not saying these pressures are wrong, but these pressures are things that could crack the ordinary politician. So we need to have a holistic view of the entire electoral and democratic process to see how we can actually educate the electorate and make the elections less expensive. And we also need to find ways of beginning to ensure that our people are more gainfully employed. Because if they are more gainfully employed, they'll have less dependence on those. Because you possibly may just need to step out one day to visit an elected person when he returns home on a weekend. The kind of pressures you see, you'll be very surprised. So we need to begin to look at these challenges and the problems and to find ways to truly address it. Because until we address it, we may not be in a position to be able to address the holistic governance as it stands. Because everything is interconnected and it's important. And I do believe, too, that beyond these pressures, the issue of, what is there, it's not what is in the office, as I did say, it's actually the pressures and the uncertainties of what you find by the time you sit down. And for most of the persons, too, who also criticize from our side, they are not probably well informed about the situation. People will talk about the state and say, there's a lot of money. They can't even do an analysis. Like somebody will rise up now and say in Delta State there's a lot of money. But what I get from the FAC allocation and every month since I came in, apart from a few months, just only a few months out of the 26 months now, that the amount was enough to address the issue of salaries. Yeah. In most of the other months, at least in 80% of the months, the money was not enough to address the salary of workers alone. Let alone solving the problems of security, solving the problems of infrastructure.
Unfortunately,
so a whole lot of problems. And then when you move beyond that, you also look at the local government councils. The local government councils are in such a bad state because the number of workers that they had, both in the local government councils and the primary school teachers, is such that what they receive from the FAC allocation and what they get from the state is not enough to meet their salaries.
Are saying that Okowa is not paying salaries?
That was I'm not owing salaries at the state level, but they believe that as the state governor, they only submit me to pay their local government council workers. But that, by law, It's not right.
Yeah.
But where it's possible to support, you support. I did support sometime last year when we had some money by January last year. And they are quite aware that I had to release as much as 3.26 billion to support the local government councils in the payment of salary. But thereafter, from February 2016, where we had this issue with the Focados export line, it's been very, very difficult. I cannot fully pay the workers of the salaries at the state. So it will be difficult for me to find money to support the local government council workers and the primary school teachers. But we're trying to see what we can do concerning all this.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about the erosion challenge. Yeah. It's a big challenge.
Very, very huge, particularly this year. Yes. Particularly this year, it's been very tough.
Is the state helpless?
I wouldn't say we're helpless. We're doing the best that we can, but definitely
is your best good enough?
We need a lot of resource. We need a lot of resource, and we have formally written to the national to see what can be done. But you find that it's going on across all states. I think the first 16 states where it did happen, they were given 100 million each, which obviously cannot do much. But our own flooding issue came in after that first set of release. And we hope that no matter what it is, no matter how little they have to support us, but we actually raising resources from everywhere and intervening from. No, we're reprioritizing because you can't even borrow. So certain things will have to suffer for us to be able to move on, because several towns, several villages are actually ravaged and submerged. Even as I was coming today at the convention ground, my commissioner for environment still called me about certain places he needed to intervene. I had to ask him to go ahead, get the equipments borrowed from the people who will find a way of paying, because we just have to find something to do.
Now, lastly, just before we go, the national question, the national politics. The president has been out now over 90 days. The acting president, so many people said he is doing very well, holding forth. Some say he's caged. Are you happy with the national politics as it is?
We are in a special circumstance that I do not believe that the president on his own, it was his will to get ill. Obviously not. As a medical doctor, I know that. And then he's been out. And I think before he actually left out, he informed the National Assembly duly.
Yes.
And then the National Assembly also gave powers to the Vice President to be acting president. As a medical doctor, it will be very difficult for me to probably comment as others may generally comment, because I know that the issue of health is not totally in the hands of man. And I believe that
would actually be unfair to ask you to comment on
that. But what I'm trying to say that the acting president, I believe, working with the National Assembly and other members of government, there's no reason why they shouldn't. They have the powers to do what they are supposed to do, and I expect that they should be able to function normally. I do not think that the acting president has complained that his powers are eroded. He has not said so to Nigerians.
So many people are saying so.
People are saying so, but he has not told us so. And we do not have information from the National Assembly that the hands of the acting president is tied. So to that extent, we'll give the benefit of doubt to the fact that we believe that the acting president has all the powers to act. And I would rather not want to directly judge, because the time now is too short, and neither will I want to compare him with the time that Buhari was directly there, because it's the same government, the same governance, the same presidency. But what we need to know is that Nigerians are actually in pains. So they definitely, at the federal government, must continue to work with the state governments to find a way to reduce the pains that we have at the moment. And it's important that we look at that. But one other thing I must speak about is that we need to, as a nation, realize that in planning, any planning that does not have the plan of population,
it can't work.
It cannot work, because your resources must be tailored along your population.
Well,
because if your economic growth is in a particular, going at a particular level, and your population is growing at a much higher level, any plan you make will definitely fail, excepting there is some form of population control. And population control does not stop you from having kids. Spacing of children. So we must bring this to the foremost part and ensure that we begin to have this discourse. Because what we are doing at the moment is that our economy is not growing, we're in recession. Meanwhile, the population is growing. And that itself is a time bomb. It's a time bomb.
Well, Your Excellency, the greatest challenge, one of them is that we don't also even have data. We don't have data to rely on. I know that as a governor, you know that that's a challenge. We have to wrap up here because our time is up. And we must thank you for watching on this program today, People, Politics and Power. On Monday, when we come back, we'll have the opportunity of having another guest. Meanwhile, we remain grateful to His Excellency, Gov Okowa, who has graciously granted us opportunity. And we wish him a wonderful convention this weekend. Thank you so much for giving us.
Thank you for having me in your program. Thank you.
Join us again, and we want to encourage you to put your hands on the deck for the unity of Nigeria. My name is Okiria Agbonsuremi.